Ways to filter data in R. So suppose you've got this data set and it looks like this. You've kind of got different columns and different rows, or variables or observations as they're sometimes called. And you want to pick out particular rows on the basis of some condition. So let's suppose you want to pick out all of the rows where stations is greater than 20. So let's go back to our script window and look at some ways of doing this. So one way would be that we could actually try to sort of do this pretty convoluted method where we try and specify, okay, we're going to try and like pick out like the kind of the data and then like the column, and we're going to try and do this and like do that, and where stations is greater than 20, and then run that. We're going to remember the comma, otherwise it's going to look for the wrong thing. You run that and like eventually it will find all the cases where stations is greater than 20. That's one way of doing it, but there's a much easier way of doing it. So the way I recommend to do it is to load the tidyverse packages. So if you load the tidyverse packages like that, so it's a command like library tidyverse, you run that command. If you don't have it installed, you can install it using this command here, install.packages tidyverse. So once you've loaded the tidyverse packages, which help us to work with data in R, we can actually filter in a much more straightforward way. So we can do it like this. So we can basically take the name of our data set, use this symbol, which is called the pipe symbol, and then we can move to a new row and we can type filter stations is greater than 20. So if we run this command, it does exactly the same thing as before. Now you'll notice it's kind of spreading over multiple rows. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to pipe it into the view function, so that will show us just a bit of a cleaner way. So now we've picked out all of the rows where stations is greater than 20. So what if we wanted to apply a couple of other conditions? For example, what if we want to say, let's pick out all the cases where either magnitude is greater than 5 or the depth is, let's say, less than 40 kilometers, right? So let's pick all the cases where those things are met. So we'll pick out the cases where, so the way we can do it here is we can actually go and have another filter statement. So filter for where magnitude, I forgot what I said, the exact magnitude. Let's say magnitude is greater than 5.0, or the depth, so the actual depth of the earthquake. So this symbol here, this is the OR symbol. So this says pick all the cases where either magnitude is greater than 5 or depth is less than 40. And so if we run this, so that will pick all the cases where either one or both of depth and magnitude, those conditions are met. You might be thinking, well, could we combine all of these into a single statement? Yes, we can. So we can actually approach it like this. So the way we can do that is we can have the AND symbol. Now, what we have to do here is we have to specify the kind of ordering of conditions. So I think the most helpful way to do it is typically to put parentheses around the ones that should be evaluated together. So it says like stations is greater than 20 and like either of these conditions or both of them are met. So if we run that, we will get exactly the same result as earlier. You might also be wondering, so what do we do about the fact that, when we print this Quakes data set, it's just splitting over many, many rows. One simple way of fixing this, once we've loaded the tidyverse packages, is we can just convert it to a tibble, which is a bit of a cleaner type of a way of showing the data. So if we convert it to a tibble, and then we run this command just without even needing the view statement, so we just run that command like that, it would just show us like the top sort of 10 rows or so. It's much cleaner. If we want, we can convert it straight back to a data frame. So just like this. And it will get us back to that previous method, but generally a tibble is much easier, right, to work with. So that's what I'd recommend. So that's basically how to filter data with R, and you can explore more of this in the documentation. There's some pretty good documentation around the filter function. So if we run the question mark filter and pick the one for dplyr, so up here, so subset rows using column values, and it will take you on a journey to help you sort of explore some potential ways of filtering your data better.